You hear it all the time, right? Brand awareness. But let's be honest, what does that actually mean for the bottom line? Today, we are going to move way beyond the buzzwords and actually build a framework that turns that vague idea into real, measurable business growth. Let's get into it.
And look, it's a totally fair question. Is brand awareness just a bunch of vanity metrics, impressions, likes, all that stuff? Or does it actually move the needle on sales? For a lot of people, it feels like a budget black hole. But what if I told you it's secretly the most powerful growth lever you have?
Well, here's the thing. The data is incredibly clear on this. When a customer is finally ready to make a purchase, the brands that are already in their head are up to 3 times more likely to get the sale. 3 times. That's not just a buzzword, right? That is a massive competitive edge.
All right, so here's how we're going to break it all down today. First, we'll look at what we're calling the brand awareness engine. Then we'll dive into a really simple, powerful 3-part framework: understand and listen, create and share, and amplify and own. And then we'll wrap up with what your brand's very next move should be. Okay, let's kick things off with the engine itself. Here's the big idea we need to get our heads around. We have to stop thinking about brand awareness as just getting your name out there. It's a measurable system that has a direct, tangible impact on your business. So let's get the definitions right, because it matters. First, you've got aided awareness. That's recognition. It's pretty simple. You show someone the McDonald's golden arches, and yeah, they know the brand. But the real gold, the holy grail, is unaided awareness. That's recall. That's when you ask someone, hey, where can I get some fries? And they say McDonald's without any prompting at all. Now that is powerful. So why does this matter so much? Well, it all comes down to trust. Familiarity breeds trust. We humans are wired to prefer things we know. So a brand we recognize feels safer, more reliable. It builds this lasting value, this equity that actually fuels faster growth. And it even creates this kind of halo effect where people just assume your stuff is higher quality simply because they've heard of you. Okay, so how do we actually build this thing on purpose? Not by accident, but intentionally. We do it with a simple 3-pillar framework. It all starts with understanding and listening. From there, you move to create and share. And finally, you finish with amplify and own. So let's start right at the foundation, listening. All right, pillar number 1, understand and listen. This is the absolute bedrock of everything else. You simply can't build a brand that people connect with if you don't have this deep, almost gut-level understanding of your customer. This is where we stop guessing and start knowing. And this can start with really simple tactics that give you these huge insights. Something like a persona quiz, it's not just some fun little thing for your website. It's a gold mine. It gives you the exact words your customers use to talk about their problems. Or a simple consumer survey that lets you throw your assumptions out the window and build your entire strategy around what the market is telling you it wants. And look, this isn't just some textbook theory. Check out this quote from Chris Gaddick over at AdQuick. They fully leaned into this idea that the customers own the brand. They just kept listening, kept learning, and used all of that to build their awareness. And, oh yeah, they doubled their monthly recurring revenue while they were at it. I mean, come on, that's the real-world impact of just listening. So once you've done that deep listening, what's next? You have to act on it, right? And that brings us perfectly to our second pillar, create and share. This is where you take all those amazing customer insights and you use them to make content that genuinely helps them, that builds trust, and that positions you as the go-to authority in your field. This whole part of the strategy is about giving away so much value that people can't ignore you. You can use video to tell stories and build an emotional bond that simple text or photos could never touch. You could publish your own original research, be the one that creates the stats that everyone else in your industry has to cite. Or you can build your credibility by sharing your smarts on other respected websites. And Chris Savage, the CEO of Wistia, just hits the nail on the head here when it comes to video. He says it's the most emotional medium. It's not just about showing off your product, it's about forging a relationship and doing it fast. Think about it. It's the closest thing you can get to having a face-to-face conversation, but at a massive scale. All right, that brings us to our third and final pillar, strategy number 3, amplify and own. So you've listened to your audience, you've created amazing content for them. Now what? Well, now it's time to get that content in front of way more people and to really take control of how your brand shows up online. It's about expanding and defending your turf. 2 huge tactics here are all about leverage. Influencer marketing, when it's done right, isn't about paying for a one-off post. It's about building real relationships with people who already have the trust and attention of your ideal audience. And then there's referral marketing, which is just a brilliant way to systematize word of mouth. You're basically turning your happiest, most passionate customers into your most effective sales team. And a massive part of owning your space is owning it on search. And you got to think of this as a two-front war. On one side, you've got non-branded searches. That's when someone is just exploring a topic, like typing in SEO 101. You want to be the answer they find. On the other side, you have branded search. When someone Googles your brand name, you need to own that entire first page, your website, your content, and especially your positive reviews. And this is exactly what Aaron Weischer from Lead Furno is talking about. This is not a wait-and-see kind of thing. Smart companies are proactive. They figure out which review sites are ranking for their name, and then they build a real strategy to make sure those pages look great. You have to defend your digital territory. Okay, so we've got the engine, we've got our 3 pillars. Now for what is, without a doubt, the most important part, actually putting this whole thing into action. So let's talk about your brand's next move.
Just remember the cycle we've built here. First, you listen to your audience. Then, you create valuable things for them. And then you amplify that message, which in turn gives you more feedback and more people to listen to. You see how it works? It's this beautiful, powerful loop that just keeps feeding itself.
But here's the absolute most important piece of advice I can give you. Please, do not try to do everything at once. That is a guaranteed recipe for burnout and failure. The smart way to do this is to pick just one tactic from each pillar. Just one. One way to listen better, one thing to create, and one channel to amplify. Start there, get some wins, build some momentum, and then you can expand. You know, at the end of the day, brand awareness isn't about shouting the loudest. It's about being the voice that people choose to listen to. Your brand has a story that's just waiting to be told. So the real question for you is, which strategy are you going to use to tell it first?